Okay. Hi guys. So we're going to discuss constraint as previous recording is off sync ang sound. So I'm going to discuss again constraints. So this time we're going to discuss some of the common constraints that we're going to use for rigging. Okay? And most of it are on the first part of our constraint. Okay, and then maybe for the next video, we're going to discuss the second part, and we'll be able to discuss this last part from time to time as this is connected with the first and second part. Okay, so constraint has parent, point, orient, scale, aim, call vector, and rivet. Rivet is the latest one. That's why it's highlighted in green. Okay, but let's focus more on the first three part for the first part of this video. Okay, so parent. Let's discuss point first before the parenting. Okay, take note though that in constraint, you have to select first the controller before the controllee. So there are two requirements for constraint. The controller, or the one who will be controlling, or the object that will control, will take control of the controllee, which is the second object. When in the process, you have to select the controller first before the controllee. Okay, but let's say this will be my controllee, these spheres, and this is my controller. So the first selection will be the controller, which is the box, and then the controllee, which is the sphere. Okay, so let's try constraint point first. Okay, select the controller, which is the box. Okay, and then shift select on the controllee, which is the sphere. Okay, go to constraint point. As you can see, the sphere snaps to the place or the location of the cube. Okay, now let me put it on wireframe mode so I can see the cube. Now let me select the cube. I can hardly select it because it's too small. Okay, so let me try to select that there. Okay, now if I try to move my square or the box, it automatically, the sphere automatically adapts the location or the translation or the movement of our cube. Okay, so no matter where I put my cube, it automatically follows or go along with the controller. Now if I try to rotate my controller, it won't follow because it doesn't have a constraint on rotation. Okay, same thing if I try to scale it up. Okay, it won't follow. So if I want my sphere to be visible, since it is the controller, okay, against the controllee, which is the sphere, then I can just scale it without affecting the scaling of my sphere. Now if I try to hit shaded mode, unfortunately you cannot see the the sphere. Okay, this is the reason why on previous tutorial I've taught you how to create a non-renderable uh, controllers, okay, through curves. So you might have to review that. Okay, now we have constraint point. We're done with the constraint point. Let's try constraint orient. By the way, there are logos to identify what type of constraint or what are the functionality of this constraint. As you can see, constraint point is about translation. Okay, constraining the translation or the movement of your object. So exclusive to translate X, Y, and Z. Okay, but unlike with set driven key, wherein you have to set the minimum and maximum translation or value of transformation to an object, in constraint you don't have to set the minimum and maximum. Okay, so no setting of limit. Okay, just making it as a controller. Okay, unlimited, follow whatever constraint you have chosen. Okay, let's move on with orient. Okay, orient does the rotation or controls the rotation of an object. So if I'm going to make this as a controller of my rotate, so this will be the first selection. Shift select on the sphere, and then you go to constraint, orient. Okay, now how come it didn't snap on the location of your cube or the controller? Okay, because it will only snaps to the orientation or rotation of an object. Okay, I will try to elaborate that more after this demonstration. So let's rotate. Okay, sorry, I think, wait, yes, we did it rotate, but how come it's not rotating? Okay, or I made the wrong. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, it didn't work. Let's try shift on the sphere, and then constraint, orient. Okay, let's try. It's weird, it doesn't follow the rotation. I'm not sure why. Okay, let me try another object. Let me duplicate this, and then, or let's try different object. Okay, and then let's try to scale it up, and then let's try to rotate this. Okay, make it negative 90 degrees. Okay, however, since I rotated this, I have to create a different, so you can see the difference. Let me use a different primitives. So maybe a torus. Okay, so I want this cube a controller of this torus. Okay, so right now, as you can see, the orientation of my y-axis is going up. If I try on rotate tool, the rotation is here for the y-axis. This is x-axis, and this is the axis. Now let's check the orientation of the rotation axis. This is x, this is red, and this is y. So they have different x and y. So the y here is going up, the y here is going sideways. Okay, so let's check. Shift select, and then constraint, orient. Okay, so what happened? Okay, let's try if it will follow the rotation of the box. Okay, now it follows. How come it didn't work on sphere and cube? I'm not sure why. Okay, maybe it's rotating, but we're not seeing it because it's on shade mode. As you can see now, it's following. Okay, we weren't able to see the effect, however, a while ago, because it's in shaded mode. Now, the reason why I created another object, which is a torus, to control by this cube, it's because, and then I tried to change the rotation of my box, which is the controller. Okay, and as you can see, it snaps through the orientation just the same as the orientation of our cube. So the orientation of our cube a while ago is y up. Okay, while the orientation of the torus a while ago is sideways. When I constrained it orient, okay, it automatically follows the orientation of rotation axis of the cube or the controller. That's why right now the rotation y is going up now. Okay, it has to have the same value and orientation of x, y, and z, or the axes, okay, for whatever constraint you are using. Okay, so we're done with the rotation. Now, let's try scaling. Scaling is very simple. Okay, it follows the size scaling of our object. Okay, so let me select the controller, which is the box. Shift select on the sphere, and then constraint scale. Okay, now since both of them are on scale 1, so the box is on scale 1 1 1, and the cube, or sorry, the sphere is on scale 1 1 1, it doesn't have any snaps or changes. Okay, but whenever I try to scale this up, it automatically follows the scaling of the box. Okay, now let me try it again. Okay, let me try by duplicating this. Okay, both of them has a scaling of 1 1 1. Now let me try to increase this to 2. Okay, because currently my sphere is bigger than, although they are both scale of 1, my sphere is bigger than my box. Okay, so let me try this by scaling my box twice the sphere. So shift select on the sphere, okay, and then constraint scale. As you can see, now the sphere rotates, scales up twice, just the same as the cube. Now what if I don't want my my sphere to scale up? I want it to remain as scale 1. Okay, how to do that? Let me undo everything, undo previous command. Okay, let me check if I have constraints on. No more. Okay, so this is 2, this is 1. Okay, now for me, for it to not scale as the scale of the box, we have to make the box scale of 1. They have to be on scale of 1 for both. Otherwise, this controller will follow the scaling of our object or the controller. Okay, to do that, let's select the cube and then modify freeze transformation. Go check out my channel box what will happen if I freeze it. Okay, as you can see, when you freeze it, the translate, rotate, and scale turns to 0 or back to default 0, and then the scale is 1. Okay, now they are both in scale of 1. Okay, now let's try again. Constraint scale. Okay, so every time now I scale this up, it automatically follows. Now, I can also make one controller with multiple functionality to an object. So, if I want this also, this controller also controls the orientation of my sphere here. Okay, I can just select again my controller, shift select on the sphere, and then constraint orient. Now every time I rotate this, it will follows the rotation of my cube. Now if I try to translate this, it won't follow the location of my cube because it doesn't have any constraint on translation. Now what if I want it constraint on translation or movement? Okay, so same thing, you just have to select the controllee and then constraint point. But do note that if you constraint point, it will snap into the location of your controller. Okay, if you don't want it snap onto the location of your controller, then you don't have to constrain it by point, but rather you have to constrain it by parent. So let's try parent. Okay, so this is my controller, or in a regular parenting hierarchy, the parent will be the last selected, right? But here in constraint, the parent will be the first one selected, or the controller will be the first one selected. Okay, I want this box to be the parent of this cube. So this will be my controller. So this will be my first selection, and then shift select on the sphere, and then parent. Now, as you can see, it didn't snap, okay, into the placement of my cube. But whenever I try to translate this, okay, it automatically moves. Okay, so if in case you have you want to control your object, translation, rotation, and scale, and you don't want it to snap into the settings of your controller, just like the one I've did on the scaling, wherein my scale is 2, and then the sphere is 1. Okay, since I want it controlled by the cube, it automatically snap into the scaling value of my controller. If you don't want that to happen, okay, you have an option whether to freeze transformation to make it both 1 1 in scaling, or you can just parent your object, okay, or parent constraint your object. Okay, in parent constraint object, the object will just follow the translation, rotation, and scaling without snapping to whatever value you have on your controller. So it will not snap onto the location or even the axis of rotation or the value of scaling of an object or the controller. It will remain as is. It will use the same axis. Okay, it will not adapt to the axis of this controller, but it will still follow the translate, rotate, and scaling of my object. So let's try that with another object. So let me duplicate this. So duplicate, okay, and then duplicate this also, okay, and then maybe I can just scale this up. As you can see, I've rotated this on Z axis. Okay, and then I scale this up to 2, and then my translation is on XYZ has a value also. Okay, this is different from the value that I have on my torus. So let me try setting it to 0 0 on rotation, so that it has different axis on orientation. So the X is sideways. Here the X is upward, okay, and then my scaling, my translation is 2.495. My scaling for our translation here is negative 0.959. Okay, my rotation here has a degree of negative 90 on rotation Z. This doesn't have any rotation value. Okay, this has a scale value of 2, and this has a scale value of 1. Okay, I want to make the torus remain on this location and to use the same axis without moving or adapting the axis of my controller. Okay, so to do that, I just have to parent it. So select the cube, shift select on the torus, and then parent. As you can see, it constrains automatically on translate, rotate, and scale. Translate, rotate, but it doesn't seems to adapt or constrain into scaling. So let's try if it's gonna work. Let's try to scale. Okay, it has an effect. Okay, it has an effect. So if I try to scale this up, 3.43, okay, the scaling remains 1 because it doesn't have any constraint attached to our object. The reason for that is because they have different value for scale. Okay, Now let me try doing rotate. Okay, let me try point or the translation. Okay, just remember, in parenting, just like the regular parenting, okay, the child will adopt the center of the parent. So as you can see, when I scale it up, it doesn't have any effect on our object. It doesn't scales up, but it tends to stay away within the parameters or the scaling of my controller. Okay, now if I try to rotate this, as you can see, the torus uses the center of my cube, which is the controller or the parent. Same thing with the translation, it uses the center of my parent constraint, which is the box. Okay, and it doesn't uses the translation or rotation center of the torus. Okay, now if you want to constrain the scaling of this torus to your object, either you freeze transformation so that you get 1-1-1 scaling, okay, just like what I did this in this box, and then try to add constraint scale. Okay, so I'm gonna cut this video since we already consumed 21 minutes, and then watch the next video for the constraint aim and pull vector. Okay.